how would you describe your trading style and your trading strategy?
Aggressive, but also passive, because I'm very selective with my trades. Aggressive because I enter on the 1 minute time frame.
Mine is slow, it's boring, but the most important part is it works for me and my lifestyle.
What's the one mistake that you see traders make again and again?
Is not journaling, not gathering data. Since day one. Then I was like, there's no way. If it's only following signals, everybody would be millionaires now. Yeah.
Successful trading is a two-part game. Step one is you have to learn how to make money. And step two is you have to learn how to keep money.
The one mistake that I see most traders make is thinking that discounts in the financial markets is the same as discount in the supermarkets.
There is always motive for the price to move. What is that motive? That is about liquidity and imbalances and efficiencies.
It all comes back to one thing. You have to accept that everything is a game of probability, and until you do that, you'll never find consistency in the long run.
In order to succeed at trading, you just need to focus on getting 1% better every single day. Make less mistakes, refine your edge, just continue to improve and become a lifelong student of the markets, and eventually you will achieve results. What's the one thing that separates traders who blow up their account from traders who actually scale to 6 to 7 figures inside the 1% club?
You are there for the market, market is there for you. And then there are days where you are there for the market, market is not there for you. That's when you take like one step back.
I think ones that often will blow up accounts and make continuous mistakes are ones that are constantly trying to rush things.
I think the one key trait that separates successful traders from amateur traders is... Welcome back to another episode of 1% Club Podcast. For the first time ever, I got both my coaches with me in person, giving you guys valuable gems, all right? Dropping free sauce, all right? So we're gonna go super duper deep into trading, mindset, technicals, psychology, even a little bit about life. So you guys get to know the coaches on a personal level, and you guys get to know what is it that they do inside the 1% club, and why are we able to consistently deliver great results for our students. And it's really thanks to these guys right here. Alright guys, so for people who don't know you, tell us the short version. What's your trading story like, and how do you get to the point where you're qualified to teach inside the 1% club? We'll start with Jason.
Alright, so again, I started trading like 4 years ago, right? 1 year into trading, already somewhat there. But then again, I'm one of the few though, okay? Like my approach was correct. That is why I was able to find some kind of consistency on the earlier days. I'm not gonna say after 1 year I started making like millions, hundreds of thousands. It wasn't like that. But yeah, and then after that I started teaching 3 years ago. And yeah, that's basically what qualifies me to teach in the 1% club. And not just that, right? Again, consistent results that I've been pulling even before the 1% club from my students. The private students, and then started teaching a 1% club. Now it's been like what, year and a half, and we're still pulling out like crazy results, man.
Consistent 5-figure profits from your own personal trading before you even got qualified to teach, right?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. All right, Sanj, what about you?
So I actually started trading in 2012. I'd love to say with all my experience, I had a smooth journey to begin with, but it was nothing like that. I lost money for my first 6 years and spent another few years after that just breaking even and finding my feet. But part of that experience led me to all of the breakthroughs that I needed in order to get where I am. It wasn't until 2020, going into 2021, that I actually started a coaching business. And at first, I wanted to coach nothing to do with traders at all. But I ended up falling into a place where I now call myself a performance coach, and I work with traders primarily on their psychology because that was my biggest hurdle. And over the last few years, been very, very fortunate to connect with hundreds of traders. I've worked with one of the biggest prop firms in the game for a couple of years, and seen firsthand that the mistakes that most retail traders are making, combined with my experience and comparing that against a lot of the 1% that are actually making money in this game, it's given me a good balance to understand what the winners are doing well and what the losers are not doing so well.
I love that, man. So for me personally, it took about 2 to 3 years for me to finally start seeing consistent profits. And I know that it's different for you guys, right? So how long did you guys take to see consistency?
If we're talking about consistency, I would say going into like end of second year, start of third year. So it's like a recent kind of, activity. It wasn't like, first year into trading. First I mentioned like first year into trading, I was already doing good. When I said doing good, I'm talking about like just paying basic bills out of it. Right? Am I saying like I was able to do it consistently every single month? Absolutely not. But here and there. But yeah, start of third year, that's where like everything kind of shifted. Like obviously, started managing private investors' capital, and then my personal capital started growing as well. Because at that time, personal capital, I low-key growed it from the payouts of the funded accounts. So through that, again, that account right now is sitting at 5-figure, by the way, my personal account. And last year when we had a podcast, it was sitting at 50 something or 60 something K. So definitely, yeah, third year, then started definitely 5 figures every single month.
What about you, Sanj?
Mine took a lot longer. I think my breaking point to kind of find my path was probably around year 9.
Year 9.
It's a lot. It's a lot of pain, but a lot of lessons along the way. And honestly, for a long time, I wished it was different and I wished it was shorter. But I've come to accept that my story is part of my story, and it was the path I needed to go to get where I needed to be.
Yeah. So based on what you guys say, everybody's trading journey is different. We should treat trading like a marathon, not like a sprint. And don't compare your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 10. Like it might take you 3 years to become consistent, but it might take that guy 5 years to become consistent. Ultimately, you just got to focus on your own lane, do it at your own pace, and develop your own story. In a few sentences, how would you describe your trading style and your trading strategy?
Okay, so my entries are basically on the 1 minute time frame. I don't focus on, what is this entire day move going to be or the next couple of days. I focus more on like what is the next 1 hour candle is going to do. So if I were to describe it on like few sentences, basically aggressive, but also passive. Because I'm very selective with my trades. Aggressive because I enter on the 1 minute time frame.
BBC.
Yeah.
The big bullish candle. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
The big bullish candle. Just to clarify that.
Yeah. Mine's probably, I feel like it's almost the exact opposite to Jason. Mine is very conservative, and largely all of my ideas are framed from a daily chart. That's where I make most of my decision making from. So in a few sentences, I would say mine is slow. It's boring, but the most important part is it works for me and my lifestyle, which is a big part of what you need, I think, to find your edge.
Once again, right, it's all about developing your own unique edge that works for you, that suits your personality, your lifestyle, your routine, and ultimately just ensure that it works for you and you don't just copy it from someone else. Inside 1% Club, each of us have different trading strategies and different trading styles. For example, Sanjeev is more leaning towards like the swing trading approach or even like the positioning trading approach where he's holding the trade for a few days up to a few weeks. And then Jason is more about that high frequency trading type of thing where he's very aggressive when it comes to scalping and analyzing the chart on the lower time frame. And I personally, it's more of the sweet spot, right? Like I'm in between scalping and swing trading, so I'm personally more of like an intraday trader. And by having these different sort of approaches and different sort of perspective that we look at the market, it really gives our students a various different sort of approach, and they can pick which one they like best, which one suits them best, which one works for them. So the next question is, what does your day-to-day looks like inside the 1% Club as a coach?
Okay, so again, I'm a technicals coach and I have 4 sessions a week. So again, I have, in terms of the sessions, I usually have them late into the day, at least local Indonesian time. But yeah, most of the time I'm also there just replying into the questions in the communities and that. But something that I always look forward is the sessions, man. Again, the sessions, they're absolutely like, again, the students and that, when after like couple of months, 3 months, when students get to kind of catch up and that, like it feels really nice to kind of, personally guide them in terms of technicals. And when things starts to click for them as well, it kind of like we're in the same frequency, and that kind of makes me excited to have like more sessions,
Yeah, that feeling is immaculate.
Yeah.
When your students win, you win as well. So on top of the live sessions, you're also doing daily chart markups right now.
Yeah,
Tell us more about that.
I actually forgot about that. Now, the EOD chart markups where I explain what the price did yesterday, and then I give them the daily overview, like what setup I'm interested at, the point of interest that I'm expecting some kind of a reaction, and how my thought process would be going out through the day. And yeah, every single day I post it in the community.
That's why you're the head coach. The head technical coach is so consistent when it comes to his coaching call. He does like 4 coaching calls a week. He does like 4 coaching calls a week. 2 which is related to charts, the live backtesting, the live trading session. And then there's another 2 which is more catered towards the community building, community course, and also the beginner coaching course. The thing you must understand about 1% Club is that we are not just heavily focused on technicals. We are also focused on mindset, psychology, and even fundamentals. So in terms of the mindset side of things, we have someone who have a lot more experience than both of us combined, and that is Sanjeev. So Sanjeev, walk us through a day in the life of you as a 1% Club coach.
So I host a couple of sessions a week, one which we title Trading Therapy, kind of midway through the week, and it's a chance for every one of our students to tune in and talk about anything, whether it's life or trading related. It could be work, it could be relationships. But I think a big part of trading is having the mental clarity to do the things that you are supposed to do. The one that we host at the end of the week, we call the Mental Reset Room. And it's really just to unpack the progress that you've made throughout that week, whether it's trading related, whether it's working through our endless content of educational stuff inside there. And it's to help them to understand what went well, what they can do better, and what lessons you're taking into next week. Outside of that, from a day-to-day perspective, I spend a good chunk of time making sure I respond to any relevant comments in the community that are related towards psychology and mindset. I'm kind of the one in the community that's often calling people out and trying to unpack things beneath the surface to make sure their mind is geared towards focusing on probability and uncertainty. And a couple of new things that we've added fairly recently is I'm doing a series inside the community called Zero to Funded, where I've been very open as part of my journey, where I've basically only traded personal capital now for over the decade that I've been in this game. Zero to Funded is me live going through the process of working through the prop firm space and hoping to acquire 6, maybe 7 figures in funding capital, but importantly, showing in real time all of the psychology battles that I face throughout the markets, the real highs, the real lows. Doesn't really get more transparent than that. The last segment is Wisdom Wednesday. It's a written write-up every single week. The last segment is Wisdom Wednesday. It's a written piece every single week aimed to get you to understand one aspect of psychology and how it applies to your trading and your performance.
Love that, man. Yeah, one thing that you mentioned about is the fact that the coaches are brutally honest and extremely transparent. We're the type of guy that will call our students out if they are acting in a way that is incongruent in the person that they're trying to become or to achieve the things that they're trying to achieve, right? So we'll call them out, like for example, if they don't join after losing streak, we'll call them out. If they don't follow the trade plan, we'll call them out so that we can reinforce the right behavior and help them get rid of the negative behavior that is just pulling them away from success.
Yeah, 100%. Like there's this, a lot of time it happens, right? Often in the coaching call, like people would come, like students would come, they would like to have my opinion on the trades that they took for that day. And looking into that trade, even though like massive trade, it played out very nicely. But then again, it's all about the long-term kind of vision, right? If the thought process is not okay, and the way that I see that, you know what, maybe the trading plan, he didn't even follow it through. That person didn't follow it through, but it did play out. So like for me as a coach, I never sugarcoat anything. Yeah. If it is a luck win, I'll say that it's a luck. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say that it was a luck, right? Because again, we focus more on towards the long-term kind of gain.
Yeah, the students call us Gorgons of trading. Yeah, so on top of that, I want to touch on the point of transparency as well. The thing about us is that we are incredibly process-oriented, while trading influencers, trading gurus are outcome-oriented. They will show you flashy lifestyles to drive the agenda to you, tell you that there's a holy grail, and if you buy that indicator, they'll make millions. That's not how we operate here. How we operate is that we emphasize the importance of mastering the process, mastering yourself, so you can eventually scale to 6 and 7 figures, which is ultimately our goal for every single student inside the 1% Club. And in order for us to preach that, we have to first walk the talk. We have to first practice what we preach, which is exactly why we choose to publicly document our trading journey online. For Sanjeev, it's his Zero to Funded course, which he has been documenting his journey and how he handle his emotions when he fail a challenge, when he encounter losses, just show you everything up front. And then for Jason, he has been literally just sharing live trades since the start of the 1% Club with the 1% Club students. And some students, when they attend the coaching call, they might be lucky to actually catch some good old profits by following his trades, but we don't sell signals here. Like I said, we are incredibly process oriented, right? Same as myself, I've been publicly documenting my trading journey for the past 6 years on YouTube for the entire world to see. And that's something that we really want to emphasize on, is the fact that if you do the hard things, especially when you don't feel like it, you follow your trade plan, you journal, you review your trades, eventually you will achieve success in trading. Now, the next question is, when did you decide to start coaching rather than just trade for yourself and make money yourself?
So the whole coaching, again, it first started because as a person, I'm very slow. Okay, like I don't catch things very fast. I don't learn things like that easily, like how others do. So I always did understand that you actually learn more when you teach. So like second month into trading, I actually joined your Discord community, right? So over there, it's not that the main point was not for me to teach them. No, absolutely. I just wanted their take as well. And then if they want to learn anything from me, I'd do it. So I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, basically, because I was a very introverted person. I didn't know how to talk to others. So I was like, let me get out of my comfort zone and actually start doing it. And I think 6 months into it, and people are liking, I've been getting a lot of DMs. I miss one session a day, and then I get a lot of DMs, man, on my Discord. They're like, yo, Jason, where are you, man? Even though I wasn't teaching anything crazy. It was just simple support and resistance and that. But they were enjoying it. They were like, the way you teach, I love it, man. You make it very simple. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe because the way I teach is how I would teach myself as a slow person I am. So like, I feel like if I can teach myself, I can teach anybody in the world because I am that slow. Yeah, and that is why.
Crazy character development, man.
Yeah.
Went from being like a member in the Discord server to becoming like a coach in the 1% Club.
So for me, it started really during 2020. Being completely honest, and I think I touched on this at the beginning, when I started my coaching business, it was never aimed towards traders. It was aimed initially, I wanted to become a life coach. I just wanted to have a positive impact in somebody's life and somebody's journey along the way. At some point along the line, I ended up connecting with traders that obviously shared a similar passion, a similar mindset to the other things that I was working on. And I found that all of the advice that I would give them about their mental health, about their well-being, about their perspective, it actually helped them in their trading. And it took for me to have that experience to understand those were all the things that actually helped me in my path as well. So it wasn't really from shifting from 2020 into 2021 was where I kind of made the transition to basically exclusively work with traders. And that was the start of the journey for me.
You guys really put it in a very beautiful and elegant manner. For me personally, it was when I was around 10 years old, and I'll tell you why. So when I was 10 years old, I was in primary school and I was about to graduate from primary school, and then we had like this buddy system where the senior has to partner with like a junior that just joined the school and just show him around. And back then, my parents were extremely poor, so I was living on like $2 a day allowance, right? So a lot of times what I do is that I purposely starve myself so that I can reuse the $2 for the entire week. But it was this guy who was like 4 years younger than me, right? This little kid. And what happened is that we went to recess, right? And after I showed him around the school, and he said that he forgot to bring his money to lunch today, right? So I didn't want him to starve. So what happened next was that I actually gave him the $2 that I've saved up for the entire week so that he can buy like a bowl of noodles. And after that, funnily enough, the next day, his father came to me and gave me like a card with like a $5 in it. And from that day onwards, I kind of understood the importance of giving. Not when you have everything, but giving when you have nothing. And I think since then, I've just really been thinking about how I can make this world a better place. How can I actually help traders achieve the life that I've achieved for myself? How can I give back to the society? How can I actually give back to the community and give one person who is less advanced in their trading journey the $2 that I've saved up for myself that would mean a lot to him. And I do that through these videos, and I do that through coaching, and I do that through simplifying these complicated concepts in a way where my younger self would have understood it just like what Jason said it. So that's really how I started becoming more of like a giver. Okay, so the next question is, what's the one mistake that you see traders make again and again.
There's a very common one, and yet they still do it, is not journaling, not gathering data.
Love that.
Since day one. So again, a lot of people will say that, yo, Jason, like, the other day I shared during the coaching call, I was like, I'm one of the few that I've lost in total ever since I started trading. I've lost like 1,200 to, like, let's say, put a tax on it as 1,400. Right? That's in total. But the thing is, it was always my approach. So since day one, when I started trading, it was like first month into it, I was like, yeah, it's just following signals, right? Because the guy told me, let's just follow signals, man. It's that easy. First month into it, I didn't make any money. I lost money. Then I was like, there's no way. If it's only following signals, everybody would be millionaires now. Yep. So I kind of changed my mindset. Because first month into it, I was like, bro, every single trade that I open, I feel I'm always in a drawdown at first. So I'm like, it means that whenever I open a trade, I'm putting basically risk on the table. So basically, I got to understand it's a risk on business. So if the main topic here is risk, then that is the main thing that I should be focused on. That is risk management. So it has been since day one, collecting data and that. And I think that's something that most of the traders don't do.
Nailed it, man. The importance of actually collecting data and actually reviewing it. I think that's the important part as well. Is the fact that you gotta review your data so that you know what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, so that you can actually figure out your edge and you can actually make more money and make less mistakes.
I think Jason's one is spot on. If you didn't say it, I probably would have. I think outside of that, the other thing that I put a lot of focus on is helping traders to understand that successful trading is a two-part game. Step one is you have to learn how to make money. And step two is you have to learn how to keep money. And I think most traders lack the latter. They spend all their time going through charts, analyzing numbers and data and looking at setups to try and make more money. But if you never develop the skill set to understand yourself, to actually be able to keep the money that you've made, it's irrelevant. It's pointless. And so you have to learn to play trading from an offensive position and a defensive position. You need to know when to play each of those roles. So I think that's a common mistake a lot of traders make. They are purely offensive and they don't understand the defensive side.
Going back to what you mentioned earlier about playing defense and offense at the same time, it reminds me of this beautiful quote that says that if you don't bet, you can't win. If you don't have chips, you can't bet. So it's all about playing the defense, preserving your capital, and ensuring that you are sustaining yourself in this journey and playing the long game. For me personally, the one mistake that I see most traders make is thinking that discounts in the financial markets is the same as discount in the supermarkets. The thing about price is that price is what you pay and value is what you get. And the thing about the market is that it doesn't have a specific value to it unless you attach the value to it. So it can be considered as expensive to some people, it can be considered as cheap to some other people. And a lot of retail traders who are trading the trend make this mistake of trying to find the bottom in a bearish market and trying to find the high in a bullish market. So a lot of times they will trade against the internal structure, against the internal trend. And then they will get caught on the wrong side of the move because the prevailing price is bullish. The prevailing momentum is actually bullish right now. So if you're trying to short right now, you are literally going against the bullish trend. And if you're trying to buy right now in a bearish downtrend, you are literally trying to catch a falling knife. And another mistake linked to this would be thinking that every single move, counter trend, is leading to like a new trending move. Thinking that right now, if price pull back a little bit, after this huge downtrend to the downside, we are turning into like a reversal. Yeah. When in reality, it's just a short pullback to the next imbalance point or the next order block for price to continue down even further. And the reason why traders do this is because, like I mentioned, they attach the concept of cheap and expensive from real life into the markets itself. Like they think that just because price is down 50%, it means that it's cheap and they should actually enter for a buy. When that's not the case, right? Because the only thing that exists in the market is the prevailing price. Just because the market is down 50% doesn't mean that it's going to automatically go up right now. It could go down another 50%. And I think that's something that most traders don't realize until they get burned over and over again. All right, guys. So if you could implant one mindset shift into every trader's brain, what would it be?
I think I'd start with accepting that trading is always going to be uncertain. That was something that I struggled with a lot at the start. I always thought that there was a new strategy a bit of knowledge that I didn't have, or a new way to analyze the market that would give me the missing piece to the puzzle. Until you truly accept that every trade you take has an uncertain outcome, you never really know what's going to happen next. It's going to be impossible to find consistency because you're always looking for certainty. That's what the human mind is wired to do. So yeah, I think teaching people to accept that there's no amount of analysis that will guarantee the outcome of the next trade will be my one thing.
Yeah, like people are scared of the uncertainty of the market. But the truth is, without the uncertainty, there will not be reward, right? Without risk, there's no reward. So it's the uncertainty that actually pays you. So if you don't embrace the uncertainty and you're constantly looking for certainty, you're not going to last long in this game.
Yeah, in my case, I wanted to say what Sanjeev said, but in terms of technicals, I would say like this. It's not always just the price that's going to be there, right? What you're bullish for the day doesn't mean that you should buy it right now. I mean, there is always time to it as well. Timing the entry is very important, especially if you're someone like intraday or in towards scalping. I think timing is very important. I think even swing traders, not necessarily they will say like Friday before the market closed, let me just enter for a buy position because next week I'm bullish. They don't really do that. Again, they wait for specific days or the days that they prefer to enter.
Nice. Yeah, timing is extremely important. You mentioned that there is a certain zone that you actually trade, be it the Q zone, and that's the time where there's the most amount of liquidity, volatility, and opportunities in the market.
Absolutely.
Right? So what is that time for you right now?
The first 2 hours of London, so going into London Open, I always trade, the way I trade London is I split it into two. First hour of London, second hour of London. Again, there is more in towards technicals. However, the first hour did. If it did it in that certain way, second hour most likely is going to follow whatever the first hour did. So I divide into two segments. And then going into New York, pre-New York, 1 hour before New York, and 1 hour into New York. Second hour of New York, I don't really trade that, and I don't recommend anybody to trade that because second hour of New York is basically new 4-hour candle opening. And with every single 4-hour candle opening, we expect some kind of pullbacks or maybe more consolidation for an hour. And then after that, once like the third hour of New York starts, that's when like everything kicks in again. So for me, timing is very, very important as I scalp. And when I say I scalp, I'm trying to look for the next direction of the next 1 hour candle. I could get in with like 4 or 5 pips of stop loss. But then again, my main focus is on the risk to reward. That is something that gives me the edge in the market.
This is exactly why you trade with such high precision and accuracy. It's because you know exactly what time to trade based on your data.
Yeah.
And you position yourself at the right time, at the right place in order to capitalize on that liquidity, in order to capitalize on the institutional flow of money.
Yeah.
Love that, man. For me, it will be to be arrogant in your trade analysis, but be humble in the trade outcome. A lot of traders tend to have this mentality of taking small profits and letting their losses run because that's how they're hardwired, right? And the reason why they do this is because they don't have confidence and conviction in their trading edge. That is why I say you need to develop that undeniable confidence in your trading edge, and you only do that when you have sufficient data, like what you mentioned earlier. Once you build up sufficient data, you know that your edge will play out over the law of large numbers. You're automatically going to start to trust your edge more. Yeah, so once you develop the confidence to follow your trade plan, the next step is to ensure that you let your trade do its thing and you trust your analysis. But like I said, the only way you can trust your analysis and let the trade run all the way to its TP is if you have that confidence, that trust, that faith in your trade plan and yourself. So be arrogant in terms of your analysis, in terms of letting the trade do its thing, but at the same time, accept the fact that anything can happen at any point of time. And don't be so attached to the outcome of the trade, right? If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. You move on to the next trade ideal. So once you are able to practice that detachment consistently, you are going to be one step closer to becoming like a professional trader. Jason, I know that you have a strong opinion about overcomplicating strategies more than it already is. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't see the reason why. A lot of people think that if I know more, I would do better in the market. They say, you know what, I'm going to take confirmation from the moving average. I'm going to take confirmation from the imbalance. I'm going to take confirmation from the breaker block, propulsion block, whatever block, right? Not necessarily that way. In that way, that person is just overcomplicating it. And that can lead in towards analysis paralysis. That's why, like, after all of these data, when I say, like, I've gathered like 8 terabytes of data, after all of that, what did I gain? I gained analysis paralysis after that. That's why, like, I had to reevaluate everything and then come up with something that repeats after itself, because that's basically what business model should look like, right? Something that repeats after itself and works over specific amount of trades. Like, let's say over 100, 500,000 trades. Something that I've realized is, obviously, there is always motive for the price to move, right? What is that motive? That is about liquidity and imbalances and efficiencies. It repeats after itself every single day. I always say this, especially when I teach someone who they don't know me, right? I always say this: don't believe in whatever I say. Go and try and backtest it. You will see it every single time. The market will only chase liquidity, imbalances, efficiencies. Whatever the price is reversing from, there will always have an imbalance there after certain liquidity is taken. So liquidity is like an objective of the price. Motive of the price to deliver bullish or bearish is to take some kind of liquidity and then react off of an imbalance. Whatever blocks it is that, you know, we're trying to implement into our trading system, I don't think like we should understand, or we should know 6 or 7 different types of blocks in order for us to know, you know, to predict where the price is going to go next.
You know it, man. Like, most traders try to overcomplicate strategies than it is just to sound clever rather than to sound clear. And I think that's why our students love us, is because of the fact that we are able to really dissect complicated concepts and turn it into a way where like a 5-year-old can understand. And you mentioned that in order for you to understand why price move or how price move, you got to understand liquidity, imbalance, inefficiency, because ultimately that's what dictates the rhythm of the market, and where that's what allows you to spot the institutional flow of money, the footprints of the smart money. And I'm completely on the same page with you on that, right? Like, for me, I focus on market mechanics, which is more catered towards liquidity concepts, order flow, institutional zones like order blocks, flip zones, and ensuring that we are really analyzing the blueprint of the market, the skeleton of the market, by looking at market structure using a very systematic framework with mechanical rules. All right, Sanjeev, so you have worked with a lot of traders who are stuck mentally, even though they have the technical skills. They are proficient at analyzing the charts. How do you help them like solve that part of that barrier to success in trading?
I think a lot of it is helping them to understand that this is a game of probability. There is nothing in what they do, however good or however bad their strategy is, that's going to help them to guarantee the outcome of the next trade. And the only way to find their edge is through a large sample size of trades over time. And that's something I think a lot of new traders often miss. The best analogy and the way I explain it to people is, we understand that a normal and fair coin would give you 50% heads and 50% tails over a large enough sample size. But if you only flip that coin 10 times and 7 out of 10 times it lands on heads, it doesn't mean the coin is broken, right? It means that you just need to play it out over a larger sample size. And so your strategy works the same way. What happens to most traders is, the ones that have that technical edge, they have all the data, they understand that it works over time. But if you only measure it over a small sample size, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking my strategy is broken. And the moment you do that, we rely on something which is another psychological trap they call confirmation bias, which is similar to what Jason said. You find exactly what you're looking for in the chart. If you're looking for a reason that your trade failed, you will find one. If you're looking for a reason to be in the market, you will find one. If you're looking for a reason as to what you're missing, you will always find something to justify that there's a missing piece of the puzzle that you don't yet have. It all comes back to one thing. You have to accept that everything is a game of probability. And until you do that, you'll never find consistency in the long run.
100%. Like I always say, trading is a game of probabilities, not a game of certainty. Play the odds, manage the risk, and you will succeed. But if you don't accept the odds and you become relaxed in terms of how you manage risk, you will fail. Right? So it's all about that, and it's all about understanding the psychology of like a human, right? Like the cognitive biases that we have, be it a confirmation bias or any other sort of like psychology biases, right? And by understanding that at such a deep level, you're able to identify it in certain traders and helping them solve it, right? Right, so obviously we got a lot of like success stories in the 1% Club. We got hundreds of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot. We got 5,000 plus student wins and results, right? So obviously we have done something right. And now I want you guys to walk me through what's the most extreme transformation that you have seen inside the 1% Club from our students.
There was this one guy. So again, it's a recent kind of win for me. So first coaching call he joined, it was beginner coaching call. And his first question, I still remember his first question was, can you walk me through how to calculate lot sizes? So obviously put it into perspective, right? On what level of trading he was. 3 months in, and I'm not even joking, 3 months in. He would join every single coaching call and he would ask for his trades. Like, you know, can you please tell me like how this, your opinion on this trade? And I'm not even joking. When I say like 70 to 80% of the trades that he's taken, I would have the same thought process on it. I would have exactly the same thought process on it, which is crazy, right? Then again, when it comes to like more extreme wins, then I'm not going to say names, but again, there was this one guy from last year. When he first joined, didn't know, same story, didn't know anything about lot sizes. And then, what was it, September or October? After we did the podcast, that guy had 20K in payouts.
Jesus.
20K in payouts. Like genuinely 20K in payouts through ACG, which was crazy.
Wow. Yeah, like the best feeling is where a student have the exact same analysis as the one that you have. That is when you know that the student is about to surpass the master and he has really taken whatever he have learned and implemented it properly. Yeah, so those are huge wins, man. 20K payout is huge, bro. And they take what, less than 12 months to achieve that state? Crazy shit, man.
I think from my side, I always like to put less emphasis on the money side of things and I focus more on the process. And so something that I've been very, very keen on getting our students to do is to show up and be consistent. So there's been a lot of people that are focused and really focused on the idea of being perfect. And I like to tell people that we as human beings, we are imperfect creatures. And so for us to be consistent, we have to have a plan on how to be perfect on our best days, but how to still do the right things even on our imperfect days. And so I enforce that a lot by getting students to show up every single day and share a lot of their journey. And we've had some students, it's taken, I would say, a time span of between maybe 3 to 6 months, but get to the stage where they've gone from someone that overthinks and constantly seeking perfection to just opening their mind up to the idea of learning and being 1% better every single day. Showing up regardless of whether they win or lose, regardless of whether they had a good or bad day, but they show up and make that 1% difference each day. And, you know, last week we had a great example. One of our students posted that he took a losing trade and he smiled. And I was like, if that's not the level of detachment that we're kind of hoping for here, I don't know what is. That's the true test of someone that has started to develop that process orientated mindset. And as a result of that, money just becomes a byproduct of what you do.
Yeah. Just to add on to what you mentioned, the hard part is about consistency is the lack of motivation to do the task that is difficult. When in reality, you gotta do your best work when you're the least motivated. When you have a bad night's sleep, when you have an argument with your spouse, that is where you still got to show up and do the work, do what's necessary in order to win. And I think that's a skill that we actively try to push out there to our students. We try to remind them that in order to succeed at trading, you just need to focus on getting 1% better every single day. Make less mistakes, refine your edge, just continue to improve and become a lifelong student of the markets, and eventually you will achieve results. For me personally, the most impressive student transformation that I've seen inside the 1% Club. And I've seen a lot, right? We got a lot of incredible success stories. We got people getting 5 figures payouts. We got people turning a small amount of money to thousands of dollars. People getting funded challenges every single day in the 1% Club. But the one that really stood out to me is a recent success student interview that I did with Sayed. He joined us when we first launched the 1% Club in March 2024. And now when you look at his setups, when you look at his entries, it's much better than mine, and I'm pretty sure that it's much more precise than yours as well, right? So he has embodied this new style of trading where he combined what he has learned from me and what he has learned from you and created his own style. So he's able to use market mechanics to identify structure, but at the same time, he's able to use your algo concepts to refine his entries, to trade with precision, to catch these high R multiple trades. So at the start of the 1% Club, he told me that he was going to turn 10K to 100K. Right? That was his goal at the start when he joined us. And along the way, he met a lot of obstacles, and there was a lot of challenges, right? Like he managed to make some money and then lose it all, make some money, lose it all. And he got funded and then he failed the challenge, he got funded and he failed challenge. And what impressed me the most is the fact that he kept going. And he's the most consistent trader that we have since we joined the 1% Club. Every single week, he joined all the coaching call. Every single week, he posts his chart setups. You can really see his entries getting better in every single chart markup that he actually posts. And fast forward to 12 months later, he has accomplished his goal of turning 10K into 100K. And it's really a testament of what you can accomplish if you just focus on getting 1% better every single day. What's the one thing that separates traders who blow up their account from traders who actually scale to 6 to 7 figures inside the 1% Club?
The difference is that there is, again, it's a matter of perspective. Right. In my opinion, it is completely subjective, matter of perspective. Is that one thing, the one biggest quality, in my opinion, is that the person that knows when to be on offense and when to be kind of more on the conservative side, I think that person is going to be, he's going to go, or that person is just going to nail it in terms of trading. Right. There are days where you just got to understand, days you are there for the market is there for you. And then there are days where you are there for the market is not there for you. That's when you take like one step back. And again, even though I'm very, in terms of my trading, I would say aggressive only because of my entries on 1 minute time frame. And all of the students that are entering on the 1 minute time frame, I would say we're doing it aggressively because our entries are on the 1 minute time frame. But again, it doesn't mean that every single day I take 10, 15, 20 trades. Absolutely not. I'm still looking at 1 trade a day, 3 trades. Again, my average trade right now, the amount of trades that I take is 3.7 trades per week. 3.7 trades. Now, some of them might think that, what, this guy scalps and 3.7 trades a week, that's kind of less though. Not necessarily. Now, again, it's all about risk to reward.
It's all about data.
Yeah.
And that's like the sweet spot that I found. Not too many, not too less, just right enough for you to get 5 to 10% a month.
Absolutely.
Love that, man.
I think from my side, it's the big thing the difference between those students, I would say, largely comes down to their ability to trust the process. I think ones that often will blow up accounts and make continuous mistakes are ones that are constantly trying to rush things. And we spoke about this yesterday, this idea that there has never been a lower barrier to entry to try and become a trader. And that's a blessing and a curse. For a lot of people, starting with $50 is an easy way to get into this game, but it doesn't necessarily set you up for the right mindset to succeed in the long run. I think a lot of people have to accept that there is a period of time where you just have to be the student of the game. You have to learn your lessons.
Yeah.
And jumping into live trading right from the very beginning, before you finished any of the course content or collected your data, it's a waste of time. And I've told many of our students, there is zero reason for you at your stage of your journey where you need to be risking live money, right? You need to be preserving your capital. There will be a time and a place. And when you're there, I'll tell you, this is the right time. Start getting some emotions involved. But till then, lay the right foundations and trust the process long term. And I think if more students develop that mindset, they would do better in the long run.
I think the one key trait that separates successful traders from amateur traders is humility. It's the ability to accept the fact that you are wrong and you don't know it all. Because a lot of times we try to impose our bias, our belief onto the market rather than perceiving the market for what it actually is. So as a result, you're no longer trading the market. You are trading your belief of the market. You are trading what you think the market will do, rather than what the market is actually doing right now. And this is also why people who are highly successful in their specific endeavors tend to fail when it comes to trading. I'm talking about scientists, engineers, businessmen, because of their success in their industry, they automatically translate that hard work and intelligence is the success blueprint in trading, but that's not the case. Also develop this mindset where they know it all because of their success in their industry. So as a result, when they come onto the market, they refuse to accept new information from the market, from mentors, from people who have accomplished the things that they want to accomplish. And that comes when you're arrogant, right? So having humility, accepting the fact that you don't know it all, accepting the fact that anything can happen in the market, this puts you into defensive position where you are open to new information and you are continuously adapting and evolving with the ever-changing market conditions. If you had to teach a trader everything you know in 30 days, what will your crash course look like?
Start off as usual with market structure. First 15 days, I'm only doing market structure. Every single day, only market structure. Next 15 days, because whatever it is, if that person can get the market structure correctly, whatever the next 15 topics is going to be, that is going to be so much easier. So you see, me as a person, I like to focus on, if I want to start something new, I like to focus on the foundation. If the foundation is strong, whatever is ahead, I think is going to be easier. So yeah, I would definitely start with market structure for first 15 days. And then after that, moving on in towards efficiencies, imbalances, liquidity, cycles of liquidity, in towards time, getting into the time, opening, closing of the candles. And then after that, the 1 minute mastery. How to enter on the 1 minute time frame, because I always said on the 1 minute time frame is a whole different thing. Right? It's a lot of people say that it just gives a lot of noise. Absolutely not. If you know what you're looking for, which is what you're going to study in the first 15 days of the market structure, if that is clear, your 1 minute is going to be clear. So at the end, that will be the 1 minute mastery, and then yeah, that will be the whole technicals, quote unquote technicals mastery.
Nice. I think that's the best crash course out there, man. So Abraham Lincoln has this beautiful quote that says that, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Based on what you're saying, you should spend the first 4 hours mastering market structure, ensuring that you get a solid foundation, because market structure is really everything, right? It detects where you're going to enter, where you're going to look for opportunities. And that only comes when you have a strong understanding of internal structure, swing structure, fractal structure, higher time frame structure, lower time frame structure, and knowing how to combine all of these concepts together. Absolutely knew it. Market structure is really like that foundation that everything else builds on, whether that's liquidity, supply and demand zones, order blocks, inefficiency, efficient price action.
From my side, I think I would focus on 2 process-orientated things. The first one would be meditation. I think meditation was a huge part of the puzzle for me. And it taught me to really become more self-aware. It got me to a place where I can be very present and understand what's happening with my mind in the moment. And I think that's a skill that a lot of traders lack. They experience all the common emotions, fear, FOMO, greed, anger. And the problem isn't necessarily the emotion. The problem is they don't have the awareness to be able to regulate it in the moment. And so that's what a lot of meditation will give you. I think if you couple that up with a good practice of journaling, those 2 together give you, I believe, the holy grail that you need to succeed, because your journal will identify the patterns that you need, both from a strategic perspective as well as a psychological perspective, to be able to spot your flaws. It's going to help you in terms of your strategy to be able to identify what you could be doing better, what's already working well. But from a psychological standpoint, it shows you the connection between your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. And the moment you can identify the patterns of behavior that you go through, combined with a higher level of self-awareness, you're now putting yourself in a place where emotions don't surprise you. You expect them, and then you become aware of them, and you can regulate them. And so for me, good trading is not about the absence of emotion. It's about the regulation of them. And I think that would help a lot of people in 30 days.
Damn, yeah. You really put it very beautifully as well. Meditation is the action of becoming more familiar with yourself, letting go of your past self, and transcending into your new self. So based on what you're saying, you spend the first 4 hours sharpening the mind, ensuring that the person is built, or ensuring that the person have the right mindset in terms of how he approach his trades, how he approach the markets, how he approach himself.
100%.
What's one thing traders focus way too much on but doesn't actually matter at all?
My opinion, again, this is very ironic, man. Coming from, someone who actually, teaches like technicals, it is actually very ironic. But because look, again, even after 8 terabytes of data, there are times in the market where, let's say last January, where I'm like, you know what, this is not for me right now. I shouldn't be here. You see? So whatever technicals I was applying, it's just not there. It's not working out, right? So again, it's a matter of, like San said, needs to be know when to be offensive and when to be defensive. Those kind of stuff. Yeah, it's I were to say I was gonna go like in depth about strategy, but I think it was gonna be very controversial.
I'm not trying to get cancelled.
By the woke culture.
Yeah.
To be honest, I would largely agree with that. I think that's probably going to be less surprising from me. But I think the strategy is probably the least important part. Because ultimately this game is all about risk management, right? You don't get rich in this game because you have some holy grail strategy.
Absolutely.
You get rich in this game because you've learned to control the math. You either have to win more than you lose, or your losers have to be smaller than your winners. It's always comes down to a simple game of math. And so I think if more people understood that and spent less time on their charts and more time understanding themselves and their approach to the market, I think it would put them on a more linear path to consistency.
I agree with that. I personally would say psychology, but it depends on your timeline. If a person doesn't have like a proper edge, then yeah, strategy should be your priority right now. Get the edge right, backtest, get the data so that you know what's working, what's not working. But for most traders who are watching this, they probably have like a proven strategy. They just either don't have sufficient data to have confidence in that strategy, or they just don't know how to regulate their emotions when they're in live market conditions, or they're not following their strategy enough.
I agree with that. And again, from a psychology perspective, I wouldn't disagree with anything you said. I think the thing that most traders have to understand is that every strategy works, it just doesn't work all the time. And that's what you have to truly accept. Until you connect those dots, finding consistency is going to be almost impossible, because ultimately, I could look at the constellation of the stars and tell you whether to buy or sell. It guarantees.
Some people do that.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, with everything that I teach, I could teach you to have the best, most monk-like mindset that's out there. But if you don't have an edge in the market, you're not going to make any money anyway. And so the goal isn't to be happy losing money. The goal is you need an edge, 100%. What that edge is and how that works for you is up to the trader in and of itself. But then you have to combine that with the good mindset. When you get the two of those together, that's where you find your path to consistency.
Yeah, again, I think it goes back and forth, From my side, like, I can also teach whatever it is it took me to be profitable in terms of technicals. You don't have the psychology, you don't have the risk management. You're not going to go anywhere, right? You're going to make profit for like 1 week, but then is it going to be sustainable? Absolutely not.
So it's about finding out what phase of the trading journey are you in right now and identifying the most high leverage tasks based on that phase you are in.
Absolutely.
So for beginners, you'll be figuring out the edge first, ensuring that you have a proven strategy, ensuring that you are doing sufficient work to prove that that strategy works. And then for intermediate traders who already have a proven trade plan, it's about developing the capacity to follow your trade plan relentlessly without fail, and simultaneously understanding how to control your emotions, how to regulate your emotions when you're in a losing streak, when you're in a winning streak, and how to approach the market with equanimity. If you have to give traders one truth bomb where they won't hear anywhere else, what will it be?
Your technicals will not work all the time, right? There are periods of time where after usually it happens after you take 5-6 wins in a row, which I always have problem with dealing with winning streak. I always say dealing with losing streak is easier than dealing with winning streak, because with winning streak, you get that overconfident. Yeah, I think like it's already a bad luck for you. But losing streak, take one step back, risk less until you get back. Right? With winning streak is very tricky. So having that understanding that your technicals will not work 100% of the time. It might not work 6 months of the year as well. You just gotta agree. You just gotta agree to it and accept it.
For me, it will be win rate does not fucking matter. A lot of beginner traders, they are striving for this 80% win rate, thinking that that's the holy grail strategy. When in reality, there is a lot of professional traders who are hovering around the 40% to 50% win rate. And what works for them is the fact that their wins always outweigh their losses. And I've seen a few professional traders, hedge fund traders, who have like a 20% win rate, but they are wildly profitable. But the problem with that strategy is that you have to sustain, or you have to endure a string of losses before you actually start seeing huge amount of profits. And some traders might not be used to that sort of approach. And some traders might be okay with that sort of approach. It's all about, once again, finding out what works for you.
Yeah.
And then there is also the flip side where there are highly profitable traders who have an incredibly high win rate, but like a small R multiple, like 1:1, 1:2. And they are incredibly profitable as well, right? So if you think about it, win rate is not a critical factor that will determine your trading success. It's one of the many variables that will dictate the outcome of your trades, the outcome on whether you actually become consistently profitable or not. There's other factors like how long you hold a trade for, what's your average trade duration, what is your R multiple on average for each trade, what is your profit expectancy. There's a lot of different metrics that you can look at. And if you can control the variables, you can control the outcome. And you will only understand the variables when you do the self-work, when you do the inner work, when you actually review the data that you have collected.
So one from my side, I think maybe this is a little bit controversial. I would say you never really make it. I think a lot of traders, especially in today's age of like social media, they think you'll get to some point where it's just daily withdrawals, Lambos, private jets, fancy watches. Personally, I think that idea never happens for most people. I think the idea of making it in trading is understanding that there is no top to the mountain. Even when you become successful and you start making consistent profits, there are still hard days. There are still moments that are going to be challenging. You're still going to go through periods of drawdown. You're still going to make mistakes. All of that stuff still happens. But what improves is your ability to be able to deal with it. And so I think the image that most people have in their mind, for most, doesn't really exist. And you get to a place where you realize, there is no top to the mountain.
Absolutely know it. It's never about the destination. It's about the journey. Yeah, it's about constantly getting better, constantly playing the infinite game of life, infinite game of trading. Sanj, if you could trade places with any trader in history, who would it be?
I probably want to go with, I don't know, maybe something a little bit left field. I got two people that immediately come to mind, but the lifestyle that I'm envisioning seems wild. So one is either going to be Jordan Belfort.
Oh.
Not our typical trader, but if you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know.
The other one is going to be Bobby Axelrod from Billions.
Fictional characters.
Exactly, right?
I have that.
In my head, like if I'm going to trade places with anyone, I want to do something that's up there. So it's going to be one of them too.
Mine is a very common one. I think most of you guys know him as well. Jade Cap. I kind of like the way he approaches. I like his approach actually. Like how he built capital through funded accounts and that, making it like 5+ mil in capital and that, and like living that kind of lifestyle using like prop firms. I think it fits me.
Love to see another Asian win as well. For me, it'll be this guy called Chris Camillo. He's a trader who turned 20K into $42 million without technical analysis.
What? My kind of guy.
So he uses this form of trading called social arbitrage, which means that he's capitalizing on trends. He's investing his money on assets that is heavily based on sentiments and where attention flows. And the way he actually approaches trading is in such a unique manner. He go onto TikTok, he search for trends, and he look at the comments. So he knows which are the companies that are going to be thriving in the next 2-3 years, right? For example, if on TikTok right now, AI is trending, what he's going to do is that he's going to be looking at the comments, see what other retail traders are buying, where the sentiment is heading towards for these like tech stocks. Because wherever the attention goes, that is where money tends to flow, right? First, retail traders get in, and then institution traders get aware of that trend and they hop on as well. Same thing for Nvidia, same thing for Microsoft, same thing for Bitcoin. So what Chris Camillo does is that he spots this trend early by constantly going to TikTok without using technical analysis, without using indicators, none of that thing, and just focus on looking at other people's comments to see what other people are talking about, what other people are paying attention to, and he just invest into them. And bro, it's incredible on how he fucking turned 20K to 40 million just by doing that alone. What's a hobby or talent that students in the 1% Club do not know that you have? Jason.
Talent or hobby? Hobby, I don't know. Talent, I'm not a very talented guy, man. I know how to sing.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not bad. And hobby, motorcycling. Insane one. Like insane motorcycling, yeah. That's that.
From my side, you probably know where this is going. And a few of our students have actually seen it. when I was a lot younger in my teens, I used to work as a magician. So I used to do a lot of magic for business events, charities, birthdays, all sorts of stuff. Speciality is just a deck of cards, a little bit of sleight of hand. And, it's, to be honest with you, it's what got me interested in psychology. I started learning about psychology because I wanted to be a better magician. And that's what got me into it from a very young age. And it fascinated me. And it's something that kind of always stuck. So, yeah, magicians.
What's the one piece of advice you wish you knew when you started trading?
Yeah, when I started trading, it's basically like this. The more things you learn doesn't mean the better you will get. In terms of technicals, I'm talking about technicals. Main example, coming from someone who watched like 2016 all the way till 2022, mentorship, ICT, didn't learn anything. Look, I'm not going to say I didn't learn. I learned a lot of things to the point where it overwhelmed me.
Analysis paralysis.
So I ended up like making my own journal and kind of differentiate between what are the things that are objective and things that are subjective. So obviously it took me another 6 months, by the way, to just do that. So that was, different. So it doesn't mean that the more you learn, the better it is, or the more quote unquote confirmation it can give you, the better the trade. Absolutely not. It's not going to be like that. Focus on one thing. Don't strategy hop from one to another just because you did it for 1 week and it didn't work for 1 week. 1 week means nothing, right? It's all about, I get it. If you did for 1 week sleepless 1 week, and you took like 1,000 backtesting trades and it didn't work out, maybe, you know what? Fair enough. But still, man, that's, basically that. Less
is more.
Yeah.
Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding what works best.
Yeah.
And more often than not, what works best for you, it's not 10 different confirmations. It's a few entry models that you master over and over again.
Yeah.
The same trading style, the same currency pair, the same time frames, over an extended period of time. That will make you a master.
I think if there's one thing I wish I could tell my younger self, it's that successful trading is not about being right. It's about managing risk. I think when you're focused on the idea of trying to be right, you spend all your time and energy making predictions. You spend all your time on the charts. You spend all your time trying to analyze the market, trying to figure out what's happening next. And the problem with that is when it doesn't happen, inevitably, at some stage, it's going to occur for everyone. You're disappointed because you feel like you haven't done your job right. Your job is to predict, and your prediction has failed, and therefore you feel like you failed. It becomes personal. But when you believe that your job is just about managing risk, a risk manager focuses on two things. How do I make my winners as large as possible, and how do I keep my losers as small as possible? And that puts you in the mindset of actually not fighting losses, but just accepting them. You don't try and avoid them. You learn to manage them. And I think if more people focused on that mentality, especially myself back in the day, I think I would have got me a lot further sooner.
I loved it. Yeah, you nailed it, man. Importance of managing risk. That's like a huge... That's something that most people overlook, because we have been talking about technical psychology, but risk management is what keeps you in the game. Yeah. Strategy is what gets you in the room. Risk management keeps you in the room. For me, it will potentially be about playing the long game and ensuring that you are optimistic in your trading goals, but pessimistic in the timeline it takes to achieve those goals. Most traders, they try to accomplish this, become a millionaire trader in 6 months. When in reality, that goal is very possible if you have like a longer time horizon. Becoming a millionaire trader in 50 years is more possible than becoming a millionaire trader in 6 months. And a lot of times what happens next is that they set this unrealistic expectation, unrealistic timeline on themselves. And then when it comes to that date, 6 months later, they don't see results. They don't see incredible results. They start losing faith, confidence, and trust in their ability to trade, and they quit right before they are one trade away from success. This is why my motto is one trade away. Because you could be one trade away from freedom. You could be one trade away from mastering the charts. But because of the fact that your timeline was way too short, you end up giving up before you even see any sort of significant and lasting results. So go and set these big ass goals, big hairy ass goals, but understand that it's all about treating trading like a marathon and doing this at your own pace, at a pace where it's sustainable so you don't burn out. and at a pace where it's fast enough for you so you can actually start to stack up private wins that will actually give you the confidence to stay in the game as well. Alright, so we're gonna wrap it up right now. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this conversation, high-level conversation that I had with these professional traders, professional coaches in the 1% Club, and also professional gamblers who are #Ragical. So if you guys really enjoyed this conversation and you want to listen to more podcasts just like this, check out these 2 podcasts that I've done with each of them. If you want to learn more about mindset and psychology, check out the one that I did with Sanjeev right here. No, it should be right here, since Sanjeev is right here. If you want to learn more about technicals and how to scalp with precision, check out my podcast that I've done with Jason right here. Once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we hope to see you inside the 1% Club.